Hey, Brendan here. So yesterday I was on D&D Beyond and I noticed this. And it's like, am I crazy? Is this new? And I can see it's down here too. So before this used to just say 5e. I don't even know if it said it in the title here. It might have even said 2024 in the title there. And from a development standpoint, this has been a nightmare to try to build stuff for because calling it the same version and yet having different rules makes this complicated. Tyler at RPGBot, I thought, did an excellent job compiling all of the differences between the versions, where you've got the 5e versus 5.5e, and I'm just going to scroll through the list real quick. There's just a crap load of them. So when they had this idea of this is fully backwards compatible, and you could use two of the same classes at the same table, and it would just work, and we're just cleaning up some of the language, like that sounded good, but then in practice, like that's not what this is. This is a different version, and it's just very clear with like the number of changes they've got that this doesn't map. And I did do a little bit of some analysis on the Ranger because this is a class that I'm working on at the moment, and just kind of mapping this out. You can see the original 2014 Ranger here at the bottom, and it would be the difference between fighting like a stone golem versus like an ancient dragon by the end there, with just how different they are in power. Like these are not compatible um, in the way that they're making it sound like. Like the rules might be close enough that you could use it, but the rules are honestly close enough between like very different versions that you could in theory use it, but the the power is where it's different. But they did this in their weird means of like how they're labeling it, because when they're saying they're labeling it, they are not actually confirming this is how they're going to do this. They have this frequently asked question here, so they did make the change yesterday, and you can see on here, these are all their questions. So is this just a bigger rebrand? This update is limited to the rules labeling on D&D Beyond to improve clarity and usability. So they're still not officially calling it this, which is weird. Like I don't know why they're so stuck on this idea of trying to make it the same thing when it's clearly different enough that people are struggling trying to find new rules, and there's only a need to find new rules because there's new rules. Like they're different enough that you have to go find them if you're trying to use the new version. And even when they're talking about like why wouldn't it be called 5.5e, but now we're going to call it that because that's what the players are talking about. The only reason the players are talking about that is because it's too different. So there's a manuscript I'm working on right now. Let's go ahead and jump over to here. Thrown weaponry. I need an entirely new column for mastery for a weapon because this doesn't exist in 2014. But if you're playing 2014, you don't need that column. And now, if I'm making a product that supports both, I have to have that column in there to meet that. And then you've also got things like in a feat. I'll zoom in a little bit. Um, I have this 2024 level requirement because you wouldn't be able to take this, and it has to be called out as a general feat. Like there's enough in here that's making it like really complicated to try to design this like backwards compatible thing to make it clear on like what this is for. And I mean this is true of all of this stuff. If you got the like background, you have a feature, and you have an extra tool, and you have, or sorry, you have the extra tool, you have the extra supplies, but 2024, you have a feat now, and you have the ability scores in here. If we go over to the species, right here, you're going to have the ability scores in the 2014 version, but not the other. Like, there's a lot of differences, and this is making it very complicated to design for. And so calling it the same thing for so long is just definitely made it challenging from a designer and an editor standpoint, because there's enough things that are different that it's like, how are we going to actually structure this? I think there were a couple other things that were kind of interesting here. So 5.5e essentially means 2024 updated core rules, which they keep saying are here. They even clarify that they are saying this is a similar shift from 3 to 3.5, which if anyone played 3 to 3.5 update, like there's these kinds of changes are too big to stay within the same game. 2014 to like Tasha's would stay within the same game. Like we're making changes there, or Xanathar's, like one of those kinds of books might tweak enough stuff that it's different, but it's still the same version. These are different enough from like a design standpoint that if I have to design it around two different versions and two different rule sets, it's two different games. even if it's like a half step, like it's still different. So hopefully this will at least make it easier to find what you're looking for, because I'm sure you've had this experience as well. Like there's a lot of stuff that you search for that comes up as legacy, and it's really hard to actually find the newer version of things unless you're navigating to it through the book itself. And obviously you only need to look at that because the rules are different. They still haven't fully embraced this, where this is not still fully backwards compatible. The challenge we're going to continually run into is they're going to be hamstrung by this decision. So we'll see where they actually go, and when they start talking about the next book coming out, whether they're saying it's 5e or whether they're saying 5.5e, and where we end up going from there. But I think this is a step in the right direction to actually be better about communicating what this actually is, because that's certainly a problem. If you're not clear in your communication, it just makes it really hard to actually play this game. It's already complicated enough, and bringing new people in, as well as understanding discrepancies in rules and recognizing that these versions are different enough that you can't just call it the same thing. It creates problems, and it makes it hard to both develop for and to play and to find those rules and everything else. So I do think it's a step in the right direction for them to actually, at least in a Wizards fashion, say that this is a different version, even if they're in theory just using this as the D&D Beyond to improve clarity. We'll see what they end up talking about, but yeah, thought it was interesting to see this drop. I didn't see any announcements about this. I just happened to have stumbled upon it and dropped it in Discord yesterday. I was asking everyone, like, am I crazy? Like, how long has this been here? Turns out not very long. Anyways, all right. Brendan here. I'll talk to you all later. Bye.